Give me one quick second. Oh, just kidding.
No, go ahead. Go do whatever you want. I'll do an introduction and then you can shift however.
Maybe just grab my other hotspot and see if that works better.
All right, cool.
I don't want to freeze. It's going to be so magical. So I'm just going to start this a second.
Hey, everyone. Welcome. Say hi when you come on. I have the amazing Kari Yasi here with us. I'm just going to type real quick in the comments.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
all right, say hi and where you're from. Okay, awesome. So we'll give it a hot second. Just so we get some people notified with a little delay between Facebook and StreamYard sending it out to everyone. So, all right, so people are waiting for us. So it's 6 after, so let's go. I'll do my introduction real quick and then I'll introduce you, Kari. So welcome everybody. I'm Donna Nelson, the founder of the Adopt a Single Mom Project. If you don't know what the Adopt a Single Mom Project is and what we do here, first off, our home base is in northeastern Pennsylvania. We are a membership organization that provides a holistic approach to empowering the working single mom and enhancing her quality of life through mentoring and sustainable resources and social and emotional support so that we can close the gaps that hold her back from thriving. And one of the ways that we're doing that is by hosting these guest experts like Kari Yasi to help fill the gaps on empowering this working single mom with some of the mindset and the tools and strategies and spiritual development that she needs to feel great about herself and knowing how to move forward in her life. So we started this initiative. I started this initiative November 2017 with the inspiration really to gift a few working single moms here in northeastern Pennsylvania so that she could have a few special gifts, especially for herself, under the tree, which often single moms do not have. So the first year, purely through friends and family and our Facebook community, we gifted 30 moms, and we've grown every year since then, where this past Christmas, we gifted 94 moms so that they had presents especially for her under the tree. And so from that, we've grown to offering more high-touch support for meaningful connection for the moms in our community. So you can learn more about us at adoptasinglemom.org on how you can support us, how you can make a donation so we can continue our outreach and providing the support and resources that our moms need. And here tonight with one of my biz besties and to share her wisdom with our Adopt a Single Mom community is Kari Yasi.
Hi.
And let me tell you a little bit about Kari, so you have a bit of a background about her for those of you who did not get to read up on her. She is a speaker, an intuitive strategist, and a mindset mentor. She's from Foxborough, Massachusetts. And her topic tonight that she's going to share with you is blissed out and bossed up. She is definitely a badass boss. And the connection, she's going to talk to us about the connection between faith, spirituality, and success. So, Kari, you are also a working single mom of 3 littles.
Yes, mine are little, yeah.
So share with us somewhere along the way in your message with us tonight a little bit about your journey, how you got there, and how you're making it all work.
Girl, especially with no school, well, homeschooling now, right? Oh my gosh. So, it's really interesting because I think that this might be true for a lot of the moms, which is my personal life and my professional life have really melded together. So a lot of my message comes from the lessons and the experiences that I have gone through in my personal life, right? Especially if you're going to be talking about spirituality and mindset, like, you have to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And that means you're usually walking through the fire before other people. So you get it, right? You can understand it. So I am a single mom of 3, and I was married to a man who is now my best friend. We have 2 children together. So our oldest will be 7 in June, and our daughter, and then our son is 4.5. And then right after we got divorced, I found myself pregnant unexpectedly. I was having fun that summer. I'm not even gonna lie about it. Like trying to, you know,
None of us ever did that.
it was the first time because I had been working at home with the kids, and I had been nursing, and you know, my kids were little, and so it was always 24/7 with the kids. And so when we got divorced, I actually kind of was like, I can take a deep breath of culture where you don't get divorced. Ever, pretty much. And as women, I didn't really know any professional successful women, let alone professional successful moms, let alone any professional or successful single moms. Like it just didn't exist. And so I really grappled. I had a really hard time with my identity and who am I and my value and my self-worth and this concept of faith and spirituality, but then also like feeling the feels. Do you know what I mean? Like being really honest about my feelings and processing through things that, I don't know, maybe you guys are familiar with: fear, shame, doubt, like some of the heavy hitters maybe. And I didn't have to, I chose. I did a lot of work around all of the things while having the babies and working, of course. And so I had to bring it into my message because I think it's really important. And I think that we're doing women, we're doing moms a big disservice right now with a lot of the spiritual talk that is out there. And what a perfect way, such a time as these, right? We are born for such a time as these. We are in unprecedented territory. We're in the unknown. So any fear or doubt you already had anyway is like blowing up right now, right? It's just very interesting time to be alive. Yeah.
So I love that. And my friend April and I, who is our empowerment advocate with the Adopt a Single Mom Project, she and I were just talking about that today. She's a social worker by day. And we were just talking about people's capacity to cope right now because they've already been here and they're being triggered by all these fears that have kind of been in the background.
Yeah.
So people are even more anxious, even more triggered by things because the fear is bringing up those things they haven't dealt with. And so, yes, to what you're saying. So, I mean, I know you've been in this space for a long time around the whole healing and personal growth. That's how you and I met in a Facebook group doing telesummits and all of that stuff, right? Yeah. So, so I know you've done a lot of work. So what is the key stuff that you found you needed to work on, and what were some of the tools that you used when you were like, oh fuck, I'm pregnant again?
Not only was I pregnant, right, but I was pregnant by a dude I'd been dating for 5 seconds. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was so much.
I did that. Yes, there.
Right, and I'm like trying to process like being a co-parent with my ex-husband and trying like my family. I remember I had to prep my family for well over 6 months when I knew I was getting a divorce before I could even tell them I was getting a divorce. So now like I had to not only prep them and like lay the seeds for that, but then also now for this pregnancy. You know, it was just so much. So I love that question because I think there's a few really important things that apply to everybody, no matter what your situation is, like no matter what you have going on. The first is to give yourself permission to truly feel your feelings. You know, so often we judge ourselves so hard. We have these expectations, or we have around our feelings, or we have shame around our feelings, or we attempt to control our feelings. And, you know, right now it's really interesting. I'm seeing like 2 different tracks in the spiritual world when it comes to coping with everything, right? Really 3, but 2 unhealthy, in my opinion, tracks, right? One is the gloom, the doom, we're all gonna die, like
if the rapture is coming.
Right. Everything, it's the end of time. Like we all suck and like, you're a horrible person. Right. And so it's weighing on it. Everyone is feeling the collective, like you were talking about earlier, like the collective guilt, right? It's weighing on people and it's bringing them down. And if you weren't depressed before, it's really easy to fall into it right now because you're taking on everybody else's feelings instead of allowing yourself to feel your own feelings. Right. And so it's getting really clear on what are my feelings and not becoming the emotional martyr. Women are trained.
Yes, girl.
Women, moms are trained to become emotional martyrs. It is how somehow over time, it was like, if you want to show love, if you want to be supportive, if you want to be the good girl, if you want to be the fill in the blank, you may do that in this way being the emotional martyr. Oh, I just feel so bad. Oh, and how much of your energy are you draining away by being the emotional martyr, feeling things that aren't even yours to feel? Right?
It's like taking responsibility for everyone else's feelings, which as a mother we do, right? Every child's feelings, every ex's feelings, we always take everyone else into account. So whatever makes them the most comfortable, we take on that. And 1,000,000% it's how we lose our identity as moms, as women, because we've taken on everybody else's shit as ours.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you a really great example that I've been given permission to share. I've shared this story before, but my mom, I love my mom very dearly. And my mom is a recovering emotional martyr. She's a professional. And so I'm from Chicago, right? And my brother and his wife were down in Texas living there for his job. And something happened to one of their children. Everything's fine and great now. She's healthy. She's great. She's amazing. But something pretty scary happened at the time. And my mom has her own, she's in a network marketing company and she was working in things. And I remember she was just sitting at home for days on end, sad and crying and not working. And I was like, what are you doing with your life? She's like, I just feel so bad. And I'm like, I know that you love them and they know that you care. They don't need you to pause your life and to feel excessive emotion for them in order for them to feel your love and support. And you're kind of hurting the situation because you're not growing your business. Right? And your business is the way that you get to impact the world and you get to make a difference. And not only that, when you make money, you can give money, right? Whether it's to them or whoever else, right? It's just in general, like her whole life was at a standstill because she was so wrapped up in the feeling bad for other people because she felt like as the mom, like that was the right way to respond. So she took on other people's feelings to the point that it wasn't her feelings and to the point where she wasn't functioning. This is why I say it's really important to feel your feelings, but not take on other people's shit and not be the emotional martyr. Because
how do we pause to do that? Because so I know a lot of our moms, they're spiritual. They have a lot of faith. They're pretty badass and wanting to do better, be better.
Yeah.
Yet, I think we could all agree and be saying, preach it, sister, like, because we know what you're saying is truth, right? So accept that, like, okay, yeah, right, Kari, exactly. Yes, I know we need to do that. But how do I disconnect to get connected?
Yes. Such a great question. I mean, the first thing you honestly do is to breathe. You just take this huge deep breath, even by hearing that question. And I think that everyone's like, oh, I know how to breathe. Or, okay, you might know it, but are you doing it? Because we all know all the things, right? I mean, especially as moms or like, especially as badasses, or especially as entrepreneurs or business people, or even just workers, right? And whatever, like we know the things and that's well and good, but are you doing them? So I think the first thing is to seriously take a deep breath, like no joke, like take a deep breath and do like a body check-in, like take 5 deep breaths, take 7. 7 is really the magic number, right? Like, cause it resets things, but 7 deep breaths. Start to check in with your own body. Notice where you are holding tension. Ask yourself, what do I truly feel? If you're into meditation, do a meditation. Right now I'm on this huge Joe Dispenza kick. I'm actually in this free like 90-day of Joe Dispenza group. So if you're interested in that and you want it, let me know and I'll pop you in the group. And we're all committed to doing Joe Dispenza for 90 days, right? It's great. But the other thing that I think is really helpful, I am a big journaler. I do believe in journaling if it is done in an effective manner. I've been talking about journaling for 100 years, give or take, right? And I think it's really important to do a brain dump because we are really great at manipulating and lying to ourselves. We are experts at manipulating and lying, not just to others, to ourselves. Own it. It's true. It's fine. Here you are. We're all human, right? Like, again, no judgment, right? So feel your feelings with no judgment, which means you have to identify your feelings first. Start to write down, what are you really feeling? And then ask yourself, where in my body am I feeling this? And if you're not feeling it in your body, it's probably not yours, first and foremost. And if you are feeling it in your body, asking why. Is it because I'm trying to control everything? Is it because when something's out of my control, I feel unsafe? Is it that I feel like it's my responsibility to take care of others and prevent whatever X, Y, or Z situation is happening? Which are all really kind, loving ways to say, am I trying to play God? The answer is yes. Yes, you are. You are. You're trying to play God. And I love you. And it's okay. So you get to this point, right? You get to this point where you have to ask yourself, like, do I actually have faith? Or am I really good at acting like I have faith, but operating from a place of fear?
Oh my God, that is so good, right? Like the depth of that is just so good because we say that, right? Like, oh my God, people are like, have faith in Jesus, or I'm going to keep my faith, or I'm just going to trust that this is going to work out. And I just, me, I'm just going to roll my eyes to that shit because I'm like, sister, I'm praying for you.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Listen, I love me some Jesus all day, but let me tell you something. Jesus said, blessed are the, you know what I mean? Like, we all have personal power, right? And
exactly.
if you want to live in faith, let me tell you what faith actually is, people. Just give some. Faith is, right, being confident when it makes no freaking sense. When it makes no clue, you're standing calm. So when the world around you is falling apart and everyone around you is chaotic and everyone else around you is trying to control the situation or amp up the situation, or they're allowing it to run their lives as an emotional martyr or as whatever, true faith is standing calm in the storm. Now, this is why I started at first with understanding feeling your feelings, because we are human. We're having a human experience, right? And so we do have feelings. Don't ignore your feelings, right? So the first track that we just talked about was the emotional martyr, right? That takes on everybody's shit. But the second track that ties into this are those that are the spiritual bypassers. These are the Pollyannas. Everything's great. Everything's fine. I've got faith. And they are so unattached to their humanness. They're so fake that they are actually also draining themselves dry just as much, if not more, as the emotional martyrs, because they're full of shit. And they're lying to themselves. Again, lying to themselves, people. It's all the same thing, right? It's on the other side of the same coin. They're lying to themselves, trying to be like, well, if I have faith, then I must always be happy. If I have faith, then I always have to act like it's all good. If I have faith, then I have to put on a happy face, and any negative feeling that I'm experiencing is bad or wrong, and so I can't acknowledge it. And you know what happens to those feelings that you don't acknowledge? They sit, and you stay stuck, and then you get sick, and then all hell breaks loose.
Right. And then, so I'm going to add to that because then what happens is when you get sick, you're just going to pray about it. And then you send out the freaking prayer chain and want everybody else to pray about it because you haven't dealt with it in the right way. And then the way that I grew up, and I probably pretty similar to you with this kind of staunch religious belief that, because, again, both of my kids were out of wedlock, 2 different fathers. But it was the first one was the difficult one. By the time the second one came around, it didn't matter.
Giving up on you anyway, honey.
but the challenge is that when we're operating in this kind of religious faith-based, this, straight and narrow kind of, way that I grew up, then we disconnect from self because we're not allowed to trust ourselves. Everything is trust in God, believe in Jesus, or whatever it is. Like, everything is outside of us. And the biggest transformation from a faith and a spiritual connection that I made was realizing that the power was within me and that there is a higher source, but it's driven by me. Not the other way around.
Right. So Jesus, Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit lives within us. So let's really think about that, people. The Holy Spirit lives within us. Jesus, divine source, God, universe, whatever you want to use, right, lives within us. Our soul is the one that allows our body to even function, right? You can't have a beating heart and a brain that works without a soul. Okay. So that is within us. That is our divine power. That is our divine being, our soul being, right? We are our souls having a human experience, right? You guys have probably heard that many, many, many times. Here's the other thing about it, right? I mean, you got me going now, is when you talk about faith, faith is not an excuse to do nothing. Mm-hmm. Faith is not an excuse to stay in the comfortable. In fact, I challenge people all the time, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about. True faith is messy and chaotic. True faith does not have a lifestyle of the status quo. True faith is not the Pollyannas living the perfect life and just everything is always peachy keen great because thank you, Jesus, amen, right? And it's also not, I'm going to put my head in the sand because Jesus got it. So I'm going to put my head in the sand because Jesus got it. Well, guess what? Jesus does got it. And he requires you to take some action on it. Let me talk about the Proverbs 31 woman. Y'all want to talk about the Proverbs 31 woman? Guess what? That was her house. She knew her value. She knew her worth. And she took steps in power to get it done. She didn't consult anyone else. She didn't depend on anyone else. Yes, she had a husband and he was well recognized. Why? Because she was a pillar in the community too. She took her own money. She had her own business. She raised her own kids. And she was doing all the things. Now, do you think that was because she was sitting at home saying, oh, Jesus got me? No. Do you think she's saying, oh, everything's great? No, she sat in the shit. And that's the truth of it. The message that I share probably the most, and my story and bringing it through all of this, is that I am where I am today because I was willing to face and sit in my shit no matter how uncomfortable it was. When you get comfortable being uncomfortable, and when you get comfortable with challenging your own beliefs, and your own emotions and your own attachments, that's when you get to move through them. That's when you experience true freedom. That's when you experience expansion and bliss and all these other things that everyone wants to have or claims they want to have, and yet get caught up in all of the programming and all of the conditioning. Newsflash, like, yes, there's divine source, God, right, within us. Religion was created by man. Just like the school system and the prison system and every other system was created by man. And again, I love my church and I love me some Jesus. And this is a very blanket statement that I'm about to make, and I'm okay with that, which is the conditioning and programming that has been put in place by religious sectors is not for you to experience freedom in the name of Jesus, amen. That's not what it's there for. Because if you were to experience radical freedom and you were to experience radical faith, Lord have mercy, like what would we all be doing with our lives? We would not be sitting over here crying, acting like the world's about to end.
Because we all have to stay home right now.
Because we at home with all our kids about to get through, right? Like, yes. I mean, I just feel like that was a real word for people. So I just feel like you just need to, but breathe. Everyone needs to breathe. And I say that jokingly, but I actually do mean that very seriously, because whether you're integrating, like whether you're feeling the feelings, whether you're trying to release the feelings, whether you're trying to integrate new principles, whether you are deprogramming, right, from all of the conditioning that's been placed upon us since before you were even born, you got to keep it moving, right, sister? You got to keep it moving. Like, you have to keep the energy flowing. We have 5 bodies, right? So we have our physical body that we need to take care of, that we have the opportunity to take care of. We have our emotional body. We have our energetic body. We have our mental body, and we have our spiritual body. Now, this is not an overwhelming, oh, great, I got more stuff to do, right? Like, it's not a to-do list of things I'm just not going to do anyway, right? Like, this is understanding, like, we are very complex in nature and everything is attached. So your physical manifestation, an illness, for example, or, you know, whatever it might be, you the energy in your body, the emotions in your body, like, we got to keep them moving. And that's really the truth of why things like breathing and drinking water, which seems so basic, are actually so important. Our physical health, yeah, you know, obviously we need water in our bodies, but it's more than that. It's to keep it moving, sister. Like, it's to keep it moving so that things don't get stuck and stagnant, just like our faith doesn't need to get stuck and stagnant.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. I want to know if anyone has any questions. I want to know. Like,
I don't see any posted. I'm watching.
I just want to share, like, I want to do a little check-in. Like, I want to know. I understand the intensity of what was just laid on everybody, and so I just want to take a minute. I want to, you know, if people have feedback or questions, or, you know, again, this is very intense because I'm very passionate about it, but it's also a very safe space, because if we can't get honest, if we can't be radically honest, we can't move through something, right? And so this isn't about judgment. In fact, it's the antithesis of judgment, which is allowing, accepting, and moving through. So if anything I've said, you know, has resonated with somebody, I don't want you to hesitate to share or to speak up or to ask a question, because this isn't going to be a how could you or how dare you situation. This is going to be a, hey, like, this is what I do, right? Like, let's work through this. Like, let's make it happen. So just want to take a deep breath.
Yeah. So go ahead. Anybody that has any questions about anything that Kari said or any of the stuff on her topics, post them, because sometimes it takes a minute or two for it to post. So make sure you do that.
And if not, I mean, we'll just keep on keeping on. Do this.
So so you and I kind of touched on this when we touched base, and we know that this is something that a lot of people, especially in the faith-based world and those that are in the spiritual space, really struggle with success. And, is it even, some of our moms have expressed to me how even they feel guilty progressing in their career or going back to school, because then they'll be taking away from time with their kids. Which really isn't necessarily true, but to some degree, yes. But but we end up getting held back because we think, oh, when they're older, or when this and when that happens, and we're always with the next thing, when this happens, when that happens, and then the next thing you know, you're divorced and pregnant with somebody else's kid, and that never happened.
You never know what you're going to get.
Right. So really share. I know you have a lot of insight and wisdom around this. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah. I did struggle with this actually more when I had my first daughter, because I was somebody that always went 0 to 100 on everything I did, right? So I was a college athlete, and I was in corporate America, and then I had my own business, and I always went 0 to 100, or my perceived 0 to 100. And then after I had my first daughter, and then I had my son, and then my husband at the time was working, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, an hour and a half away from us. So it was literally, I had postpartum depression. I had a 2.5-year-old and a brand new baby, trying to work. I was on my own, because my family's not out here, and dealing with postpartum. And it was a struggle just to function, right? It was a struggle. I remember the days felt like the longest moments of my entire life. And I really struggled with, if I can't go from 0 to 100, it's not even going to work, right? Like, what's the point? It's not going to make a difference. Like, going 0 to 10 is stupid. It was a failure. If I went from 0 to 99 instead of 0 to 100, it was a failure. And what I learned in that and then I want to get back to your next, the question that you asked specifically around taking away time from our kids, because I actually have something very important to say about that too. But what I learned was that whole concept of 0 to 100, first of all, it was a perception. It was an expectation. It was a benchmarker that I had set and nobody else had. So what my expectation of 0 to 100 would look vastly different to somebody else's 0 to 100. So first and foremost, it was like, well, what is 100, right? Like, what does that mean? Then it was, well, why am I attached to that? Well, for me, it was because I had so much of my identity and my self-worth attached to the outcome, to the dollar sign, that the dollar amount was my identity. Mm-hmm. So if I wasn't making X amount, I was worthless. I had no value. That was really ugly. Again, to get honest with myself, to ask that question and say, well, what is my real expectation? Why am I so attached to that expectation? And to sit with it, right? And for me, like I said, for me, and I think this is true for a lot of women, my self-worth, my value was tied to something that I had created in my head anyway, that I had conditioned and programmed myself, or maybe outside of me in the environment, whatever, either way, to create. So I was like, ooh, that's ugly, right? Like, that's ugly. Our value and our worth isn't tied to anything but ourselves, period, right? And so I did this expectation audit. I asked the tough questions, and then I started to release it. Okay, well, what if I believed this? And I started to create new belief systems for myself, right? I started to create new stories for myself. And so over time, the stories have changed, right? And so I remember last year, for 5 seconds before I found out I was pregnant, I had decided I was going to be entered into a bikini competition. That was something I always wanted to do. I kind of, I wanted to get back into shape at that next level. It was really great. I mean, you can't say that you're a mindset coach or a mindset advisor and not constantly push yourself in your mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't go to the gym because I've got the kids home all day and I'm working, and it's going to take away from my work, and it's going to take away from the kids, and so I made a new rule for myself. I made a new rule, which is every time I go to the gym, the kids get excited because they get to play with friends, and I make more money. The harder I work out at the gym, the more money I make. That was the new belief that I started to program into my head. Sounds good, right? Here's the thing about beliefs. They work the more we believe them. So if I believe that going to the gym is going to negatively impact my income, going to the gym is going to negatively impact my income, because that's what we experience, right? We then have situations that validate that story. But it's not a fact, it's a story, it's a belief. So if I create a new belief and I start to actually believe it, not just think it's bullshit because it sounds good, but like actually truly be like, listen, the harder I work at the gym, the more money I make. Why? Because when I train my body, I'm training my brain. When I'm showing up 100% for myself, I can show up 100% for others. When I go all in my intensity level on myself, that is going to attract other people that want the same for themselves. And I remember and even though I created the new story and I wanted to believe it and I started to believe it, I remember very vividly the first time I got back in the car with my 2 kids, and I checked my phone, and there was a notification that somebody had booked in a call because they wanted to talk to me for me to be their coach. I didn't know them. I don't even know where they came from. I was just at the gym, and I was like, oh wait, it does work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a moment. Yes. It was that faith, right? It was that faith. Yes. You have faith, but sometimes you want some confirmation, right? Like you put out the sheep's wool to see if it gets wet overnight or whatever, right? Yeah. Like, oh, and then I remember another time, like maybe a week or 2 after that, I checked my phone, and I sell CBD oil, right? Like I have a CBD oil team, and it's great. And I remember the first time somebody placed an order, and I was like, oh, like this sparks. Do you know what I mean? Like so we create these new beliefs, which really ties into, I'm taking away from my kids. I want to work, or I need to work, and it's taking away time from my kids, right? Is it? Because what is your belief and your expectation? I was raised, right, and maybe you were too, that in order to be a good mom or to be a available mom, I have to cater to my children 24/7. And if I do not do that, I am not a good mom. And if I'm not a good mom, my kids are going to get messed up. And they're going to be screw-ups in life, and everybody's falling apart and dying. I mean, if you really get honest with yourself, right? Get really honest with, well, why do I feel like that's, and first of all, why do you want to do it, right? Why do you want to work? Maybe you need to work because you have to pay bills. Hi, single mom, you got to pay bills, right? Maybe it's because you just need some adult time, like some alone, like away from children time. That's ugly to admit. That's okay. After I had my first daughter, it took me 18 months. 18 months. By the time I was already pregnant again anyway, but like 18 months to integrate being a mom and an entrepreneur, because I struggled so deeply with my identity as a woman, with my identity as a mom, with my own expectations that I took on from everybody else around what it meant to be a mom and what it meant to be a woman. I actually was somebody who never actually, I didn't think I was going to be a mom. It wasn't really on I didn't grow up playing with Barbies pretending to be a mom. Like, it wasn't really anything in my to-do list. Being honest. So I was very surprised and shocked the first time. Like, my husband and I had been married for, I don't know, over 5 years or something. And I was like, oh, I think we're good to go. And then it was like, it's a whole other story about healing your body and stuff like that in your mind. But to me, it has to integrate. Like, how can I be a good mom? And yet, how can I still be me? I enjoy working. I love what I do. Now I'm a single mom and I need to provide for my kids anyway, but regardless, I love what I do. And I realized that for myself, showing up in passion and getting excited about my life and setting goals and failing and making mistakes were some of the best examples I could be. That is me being a great mom.
Yeah.
Me working is actually me. One, I would go insane. If I was just home with my kids 24/7 with nothing else, like, I would lose my shit. Let's just be honest. For me, some people can do it. And like, I give them so much credit because it is seriously incredible and it's amazing. And I am not the one. I am not the one. So props to y'all. And it's funny how it kind of come full circle, right? Because now I'm homeschooling my older two. I'm homeschooling them and I've got the baby and I'm working and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. But get really, really honest. Like, why do you want to? Are you escaping from something? Is it because it's fulfilling to you? Is it because you just want more money? Do you need more money? There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. And to understand, you are going to be the best mom when you are the best version of you, period.
Exactly. Being in alignment, as you're saying that, all that keeps going through my mind, through all this, parts of that story are, yes, the more alignment we are with our truth, the more fulfilled and happy we are, regardless of how much time we spend with our kids. They want to see us happy. So you could be spending 8 hours a day with your kids, which is a lot, for anybody that works or a parent in general. It's a lot of time, because our kids are sleeping and eating and, out doing activities. 8 hours a day is a lot of time to be spending with your kids if you get to do that. And but if you're miserable during whatever that time is, or they see you sad, or you're ass flat out on the couch watching Netflix or scrolling your phone the whole time, you're legit not even spending time with your kids. You're there, they see you, but you're not available. So being emotionally available to them and them seeing you happy for whatever that time is way more important, I think, than the quantity of the time.
Yes. And it took me a long time to grasp that, because I did have guilt, but I didn't have guilt because of my kids. I had guilt because of my conditioning and belief and expectations. It had nothing to do with my kids, actually.
Exactly.
I had a real difficult time. And now my kids almost never complain about me doing work. They have school, that's their work. I've got my work. And we spend a lot of time together. When they're present, I'm present as much as possible. Sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes I have to work or, whatever I've got going on. But the lessons, right? So every night we have dinner together as much as we possibly can. And we do this thing called highlight, low light, and what we're thankful for. The highlight is our best part of our day, right? The low light is the worst part. Maybe we failed at something. Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe they got in trouble at school, or I screwed up something, or whatever at work or home, and then what we're thankful for. Those moments have become so precious for us because they allow my kids to see the reality of my life, and that it's okay to fail. I don't know about you, but that was never a lesson that I was actively taught, right? It was, you have to do everything to try to not fail, right? Not make a mistake. And the very few times that they have said, oh, well, why are you at work instead of with us? Or why don't you want to be around us? Or whatever it might be, that I think a lot of moms hear, probably more than, I don't hear that very much, but I think that a lot of moms probably do. The response has been a couple of things. One, my kids know what I do for work, right? So they know that I help other people, right? And how selfish of mommy would it be to only help the two of you and not the rest of the world? You know what I mean? Like, don't you want the rest of the world to get help too? Right? Like I help a lot of people all over the world. Right? It's like, it's creating a positive impact. How are you guys helping the world? Right? To my kids, how are you being a good friend or a good steward of your time or your community? Right? They go to Montessori, so we have these kind of conversations.
Awesome.
Right? So it's also, I think it's okay to be, again, honest, age appropriate honest, but you know what? You get to go have time with your friends. And I love being with you, but it's also really important for me that I have time with adults too. And one of the ways I do that is at work or whatever your truth is, right? But having those open conversations so that they don't feel like it's an either or situation. It gets to be an and situation where everybody's life is enhanced. Everybody.
I love your little dinner time activity. I know that it does a whole lot of things, of which you've said, they get to learn about what it's like to be in mom's life, and they get to learn about each other. And I know that that's absolutely teaching more compassion in your family. And the self-awareness and the resilience that exercise is teaching them is amazing, because, the gratitude, of course, is keeping them in a high vibe state, but that self-awareness of reflecting on, the good stuff, the bad stuff, and just being able to process through that at dinner every day is amazing. That's lovely.
And because it's such a habit, like I've learned things, like my daughter, one of her lights was about a friend of hers, and the way that they were, treating each other, the way they were talking to each other. And we got to have a really open and honest conversation about the different choices that people can make, right? And that's a big focus that I do in my business and how I run my life and how my kids run. Malia, the baby, her dad always like makes fun of me because I'm constantly talking about choices, right? Like, it's not, a punishment or a reward or this or that. It's choices. What choice do you want for what outcome you want to have? And as a mom or a single mom, when you think about your own individual life, let alone your children, what do you want? What do you want? And every choice, because we make thousands of choices a day, right? Is as possible, because we're human, we screw up, it's cool. Are my choices rooted in faith? Like real faith. We already went through this, not the fear-based faith, right? Are they faith-based, and are they moving towards what I truly want? If the answer is no, then don't do it. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care what the expectations or the programming or the conditioning or expectations are of other people or even of yourself. If it's not towards what you truly desire and it's not rooted in faith, goodbye. Set some hardcore boundaries for yourself. You deserve it.
And that is some hardcore calling out shit right there.
I mean, it's what I get paid to do, just call people out. It's great.
Because I find I just was on a training class the other day, and I think it was on servant leadership, and the guy was legit saying the same thing about his own life, and he was just saying that, and again, this is a belief that I've had that I've detached from. And I was glad that he said it, because it pulled me back to it. And it was like, if I cannot make an impact, why am I spending my time on this? So when I'm sitting and scrolling Facebook or having meaningless phone conversations or, doing stupid shit that I do all the time. And I'm like, if I'm spending my time on this and it isn't making a difference, making an impact, which is part of my life purpose, then why am I spending my time on it?
Yeah. And I want to touch on that really quickly, because I believe that there's some people that are hearing that right now and they're feeling really stressed out by that. They're feeling overwhelmed. The perfectionism syndrome, right? Like, oh my gosh, every little thing I do has to make an impact, and therefore I'm going to be drained and I'm going to be exhausted because I can't. First of all, I can't does not exist in this house, okay? So it does not exist in this conversation. I can't are 2 words I never want to hear you say, right? But to your point, and also from a freedom perspective for the people that are caught up on it, which is everything is in service, right? Everything is in service and everything is making an impact. And that especially includes downtime. Now I know exactly what you're talking about because you'd be wasting time, and me too. Like, I'm not calling you any more than me, right? Like, we're all wasting time that we could be using for impact. And that is very different than using time purposefully to rest, relax, rejuvenate, the whole self-care thing.
Yeah.
And so many people disconnect those 2 concepts or mesh them together to the point where they feel like
they're too intense on
the
end goal. But again, when they're doing that, they're not aligned with their whole truth, right? Because they're focused on, that's ego-based.
Yes.
Right? Because you're focused on the goal, the outcome, and it's all about the outcome. So what are my outcomes, right? For me to be at peace, for me to take care of my body, for me to, it's all of those things. There's all of those parts of us, as you said, those 5 bodies, right? So take all of those aspects.
Yeah, and I want to highlight that because I want people to really hear what you're saying because it's really powerful. You know what I mean? Like, pay attention.
That's the point.
Self-responsibility, people. It is a real thing. And there's a lot of fear around self-responsibility. There's a lot of fear around creating new boundaries for yourself because self-responsibility means you can't just keep blaming it on the devil anymore.
That's right. Yes. Waiting for God to fix it.
Right. Let me just blame it on the devil and stick my head in the sand. Jesus, you got this? Cool. I'll see you later. Like, what? Listen, there's a place and a time and a space for miracles all day long. But you know when miracles take place? When you actively believe. When you actively demonstrate self-love. When you actively demonstrate boundaries. When you actively demonstrate confidence. When you actively demonstrate faith. Not when you stick your head in the sand and pretend like nothing's happening.
I don't know if you've heard this before, Kari, or not, but it was one that I thought it was funny because it to me, it was like a truth. I'll put it that way. But speaking around faith and trusting in God and waiting around for the answer kind of thing. But the saying that I heard was prayer is asking God, and meditate. It was prayer versus meditation.
Okay. Yeah.
Meditation is actually listening for the answer. So one is talking and the other is actually listening because the answer is within. The spirit is going to work through you. It's not going to come and hit you over the head. It's not going to show up in a pretty box at the door.
Let me tell you, Jacob wrestled, my friend. Jacob wrestled. Okay, he did not just sit back with a cocktail and wait. Although sometimes that's not bad either, right? Like, but there's this balance, right? And what you're saying is huge, right? Like the listening aspect, because I think a lot of people think, oh, like I love me some Jesus and meditating is the devil. And it's like, what? Like it says in the Bible to meditate, but we've just twisted and turned everything so much, and it's fine. But to be still, be still. I am, right? I'm in the wind. I am here. I'm in your heart, right? The answers, as you said, right? They come from within. And how can you possibly acknowledge your own emotions, for example, starting from the very beginning of this conversation, right? How can you take aligned action, which was like in the middle of this conversation? How can you do anything that we've talked about tonight if you don't take that deep breath and that stillness and that silence for the answers within, because you are all knowing. It does exist. And the only reason somebody feels stuck or lost or confused is based on emotional conditioning and programming, right? Believing in and taking stock in and creating our faith around everything outside of us. That is where the disconnect lies. It's not an internal battle, actually. It's that internal versus external, and you have unconsciously, subconsciously, throughout your entire lifetime, from before you even were born, in utero, past lives if you believe that, whatever, but like you have brought in all of this conditioning and all of this programming that has taught you to stay stuck, play small, be indecisive, have low self-esteem or value or worth, and feel like you don't know the answers and you don't know what to do and you don't know how to get started. You can't change anything because it's you. And well, who are you? Exactly. Who are you? Those answers are right there for you. And let me tell you that if you choose to sit and reach for those and understand what is already there, you're not learning anything new, first and foremost. You are unlearning all the shit that isn't serving you.
Mm-hmm.
But those answers have always been there, right? You're not learning anything new. You are reawakening, reconnecting to what is already in you. And when you do that, it is a powerhouse. Be prepared. Because you're not going to play small, my friend. You are not going to sit around in fear or faith, fear-based faith. Mm-hmm. You are a powerhouse and you are designed for so much more. And the world needs your impact.
Yeah.
It's not all the craziness that's going on. The world needs your impact. But now, ooh, child, now is the time. You were born for such a time as this. In fact, I think I said it at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, we have come full circle.
For such a time as this.
Good freaking stuff. So,
yeah.
All right. So, give us a couple of do this. So, you've already said journaling is an absolute must. Doing that brain dump. Being able to be self-reflective, taking that time to be present, not with self, but also with those things that are important in our life and having those boundaries and priorities. Yeah. And having that one-on-one time with ourselves to look within, to listen to that voice within, to feel our own feels and identify what is our truth versus what is this, where did this belief come from? Where are these thoughts coming from? Are they mine or are they someone else's? Are they aligned with what my true values are that I'm now starting to feel because I'm feeling this inner outer conflict. So clearly I'm not aligned if every day I'm kind of struggling, right? So what are some other, if you have other suggestions, right? Or tools, or processes, even just particularly mindset, like what can we walk away with going, all right, I've got these things and here's how I'm going to get aligned with myself and have the right success mindset.
Yeah, I'm going to give you two more because everything you just laid out is super powerful and everything you laid out are new daily habits and daily practices for people, right? I mean, even if these are things again, if you haven't been doing them consistently, like start to do them consistently and see what happens. There's magic that transforms like beyond your wildest dreams. So the two other things that I will share with you that are like non-negotiables, right? You don't ask yourself, oh, do I have the energy to brush my teeth today? Like you don't ask yourself that. You don't say, do I have the time? Like, do I have the time to take a shower? I mean, actually we probably do. Single moms, I know I do. So I cut that out. But brushing my teeth, right? Like one thing I'm guaranteed to do every day is brush my teeth, right? And get dressed. Anything above that is a bonus. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just be real. So
100%, yeah.
These are some non-negotiables. I choose these non-negotiables over a shower almost any day. One is when you're sitting and when you're listening, right? When you're in that quiet, reflective space of listening to the answers within, being brave enough and bold enough to start to cast your vision. And I say brave enough and bold enough to cast your vision is because you have these little inklings, you have these little whispers maybe, or maybe you have a little picture, but because it doesn't make sense and because you don't know how, you pretend like you never saw it, right? Really just start to allow yourself to feel what that would look like in your life, even if it makes no sense. Even if it makes no sense. I'm not asking you to figure out the how. Please don't try to figure out the how. You don't have to do anything, but to see and to feel whatever that vision is for you, whatever it is. For somebody, it might be traveling around the world. For somebody else, it might be that they are working, but they desire to stay home with their child. Like it doesn't, whatever it is, don't judge it. Don't repel it, and don't try to figure it out. Spend 5 minutes, spend 2 minutes every day while you're brushing your teeth for those 2 minutes. Tap into that vision and see it and feel it and smell it, right? And just everything about it, allow it to just exist. Allow it to just exist in your mind. That changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know when or how it's going to come together, but if you just allow it to exist without judging it, right? Without questioning it, without repelling it, if you just allow it to exist, that's good. Let it do its thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let it do its thing, but allow it life. Breathe life into it. When you start to feel what the vision is, whatever that is, maybe it's a mission, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a lifestyle, maybe it's a location, maybe it's who knows, maybe it's all of those things, right? When you just allow it to exist, you're breathing life into it. You're bringing awareness to it, and you're not repelling it. So that is huge. Every single day, and it might change and it might morph, and that's cool and that's great. And then one day you'll wake up and be like, wait a second, this is everything I kind of talked about wanting, and I had this vision, but I had no idea how I was going to get here or what I was going to do, and now I'm here. How'd that happen? Because you just let it breathe its life into it. You know what I mean? Like, you just let it be. Stop judging it. Because I know y'all have like a lot. There's a lot of either like you guys get visions or you hear words, or when you do allow yourself to sit and it freaks you out. And that's why you stop doing it, because it freaks you out.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I'm not prepared. I don't have the resources. I can't. I this, I that, whatever. Nobody's asking you any of those stuff, right? But we just go there. Just let it be. Every day, 2-3 minutes. It will rock your world. The second thing is, and you guys may have heard of this before, especially if you've ever done any mindset work. Every single night, counting your wins. This is not the gratitudes. Gratitudes are different. Gratitudes are great. I encourage you to do gratitudes every day. In fact, I have a whole format about gratitudes. My format for gratitudes is I am thankful for fill in the blank because fill in the blank. Now you've got an attachment to it, right? So it strengthens that whole neuro system in your brain and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are gratitudes. What I am referring to are counting your wins. So we talked earlier about, every choice we make either moves us away from or towards what our desires are, or our goals, or our, right? And so every day, starting to write your wins. And there's 2 reasons for this, right? When you count your wins, you write down every little teeny tiny decision that you made that seems ridiculous, the teeny tiny little decisions that you made that moved you towards the direction of your goal, whichever goal that is. So I got up and I made my bed. That's a win. Why? Because it was a success. If my goal is to be successful, if my goal is to be disciplined, if my goal is to have boundaries or patience, or if my goal is to make X amount of dollars or whatever, I know that to make $300,000 a year, I need to have really good boundaries and I need to have self-discipline. Well, guess what? Making my bed is self-discipline. So check, that's a win. Now, some of you are being like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Every little win you have, and you start to retrain your brain to look for the good. We have been programmed and conditioned to always look for the bad. All the problems, all the mistakes, all the failures, no wonder everyone has a self-worth problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is actually training your brain to start to look for all the good. Reaffirming that you are moving towards and can actually achieve what your goal is. Because we spend so much time and energy doubting that what we want is something we can actually have, that we spend more time and energy fighting to not get it than we do actually getting it. So this, from a neuroscience standpoint, right, rewires, repatterns our thought process to look for the good, to give ourselves positive acknowledgement, positive validation. The other thing it does is, how motivated are you going to be when the last thing you do before you go to bed is think about all the ways that you were a rock star to move towards your goal? What do you think you're going to do the next day?
Yeah.
The next day and the next day and the next day. Not only are you going to start to notice more of the good and attract more of the good, you're going to be more motivated to do more of the good, which good and bad is not real, but for this conversation, it's relative. So, so those are the 2 things I would say. Do those every day. 30 days, get back to me, because I can guarantee you that your life will look different no matter where you're starting from.
Yep. When I was really struggling with feeling like I was making any progress or doing anything.
Yeah.
I didn't do that the same exact way. Like I didn't do it as an exercise at the end of the night, but I had like one of those big sticky, a big, it wasn't a big sticky paper. It was like a sketching pad, like
Okay.
the sketching. I don't
Yeah.
know where I am in the picture. One of those big sketching pads, and I had it hanging on the wall next to where I worked. And it was all I had on it was wins. Like at the top of it was
Yes.
wins. And every day I would write, okay, what was my big win for the day? So that and then I had that for every month. So that at the end of the day, at the end of the month, I could see what my wins were, but I would do it each day because one of the, especially when we work from home and we're entrepreneurs and we're self-driven, one of the biggest challenges for me has been to do the hardest or the most important shit first.
Yeah.
You know? So looking at those wins and then deciding, okay, that was a good win today, right? Like I got a new client, or I wrote an article that got published, or, you know, got on a telesummit or something, you know? And look, I'm a workaholic. I admit that it's a problem I have. Because again, like you, I love what I do. I love what I do with the Adopt a Single Mom Project. I love my coaching. And so most of my wins are just around those goals, you know? So not like I went to the gym or anything, because that doesn't really happen. But if I did, that would be a win.
But if
that would be a big win.
I didn't eat sugar today. I mean, not today. I definitely eat sugar today. But like, right, like if I didn't, and this is the thing too, right? Like even on our shittiest days, we forget, right? Even on your shittiest days, there's a win.
Yeah, there is.
Great.
And this is exactly why you should be doing the wins at the end of the day, because when you're struggling with what to be grateful for, because life is really shitty and you're feeling really depressed, or, you know, whatever this stuff is, having wins are sometimes easier to identify than being grateful. But they will help you be more grateful. And I love what you said too around, you know, tomorrow, now I feel more excited, right? Because I've ended today knowing that I had some wins today. And it totally does build confidence over time. Like, yeah, I guess I'm okay. You know, I guess I'm good at something. You know? Yeah.
Awesome. What's so fascinating about this is that it's actually the most powerful, obviously, when you continue to do it every day. But when you have a really shitty day, and you're able to count some wins, and then you're like, damn, I didn't even give it 100% today, and I kind of slayed it, right? Because you're allowing yourself to feel without all the judgment and stuff. Like, then when you do have a day where maybe you have gotten a good night's sleep, I don't know what that's like, but I heard it's a thing, right? Or you have done something great, like, then you're like, oh, okay, like, I can have really good wins even on my bad days, and on my good days, like, I can carry that with me for the rest of the month, right? And sustain myself.
Yeah. Awesome. So those of you who are still with us, what do you need support with? What would you like to ask Kari? What can she help you with? And even those of you on the replay, post them. I'll make sure that I tag her, and that she comes back and answers your questions, or offers some suggestions for you. So, all right. So I'll watch and see if anybody posts anything in the next minute or two while we're still on. So give us some, although I don't know what you could offer as closing comments, because you offered 500 closing comments of real bombs and nuggets to walk away with. So what would you like to just send us away with?
I mean, just breathe. And I think it's really important to understand that there is no perfect way of doing any of this. And so you might slay it, right? There might be one day or 3 days or a month where you drink water and you don't eat sugar and you never raise your voice at your kids, and you're patient and present, and you don't have a lot of screen time, and your kids don't have a lot of screen time, and you make all this money and everything's so great, right? And yet you're still feeling unfulfilled. Or then you have a month where everybody's like in their pajamas eating cookies and screen time all day long, right? Like, it's okay. Like, it really is okay. At the end of the day, especially when it comes to the faith-based women, right? Like, it's not make or break. You can optimize, right? I optimize and, play with productivity tools and strategy and marketing and everything all day long, right? You can always make it better, but is bad really that bad? It's okay. Stop beating yourself up.
Mm. Yeah.
Just breathe. Just breathe.
Awesome. That's a good bringing us back to the beginning. To breathe. Yeah. It shifts the energy. It does, and allows us to know we're okay.
Because we are safe.
Yes.
We're worthy.
Mm-hmm.
We're secure. It's okay.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Kari.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Again, any on the replay watching us, if you need more information about Kari, tell everyone where they can find you. I know you're all over social media. Tell us how you work with people, if you are working with those right now, if you have a group program. What do you have going on?
Yeah, so everything's under my name, Kari Yasi. So all the places, all the things, right? My email is Kari Yasi. Totally hit me up on Facebook. Don't be a stranger. Email me, whatever. I am here to support you, right? Because I am you, right? In one way, shape, or form, like I am you. I get it. There's nothing you can tell me that would shock me, scare me, or like make me judge you, because I've been through it all. So yeah, reach out to me. Right now, I do have a couple one-on-one slots open for my 90-day coaching program. I have a group coaching program coming out at the end of next month. So definitely get details on that if you're interested. And otherwise, I'm around, right? Just sharing and helping and supporting and, speaking, right? So if there's any groups that anyone's a part of that they want me to speak at, but I'm here for the people.
Okay, awesome. You're on all the time on Facebook, so doing your live. So guys, go to her Facebook page, Kari Yasi, and you get to plug into more of her badassery on a regular basis. So, all right, good night, you guys.